Hi again, everyone. This is Ed the Finance Guy. Thanks for tuning in. Please continue to listen, like, subscribe. Any questions you have, contact me directly, ed1959@usa.com. We have a lot of information to go through, and I'm going to keep doing these videos, and I'm hoping it helps out. All right, what I wanted to talk about today is if you turn on the TV every day, you see commercials for, you have any IRS debt? Settle it for pennies on the dollar. And people will call me up and say, well, I owe $10,000. I want to see if maybe I can pay $100 to settle it. It's not the way it works. You have to be very, very careful of these companies. They all want you to have at least $10,000 or $15,000 worth of IRS debt. And the reason is they're charging you $4,000 or $5,000 to settle this debt. So if you only owe $5,000, you're certainly not going to pay $5,000 to settle it. So they want people that owe a minimum of, I believe, $10,000. Most of these companies are looking for. But it's something that your accountant could do. It's something that you can really do on your own. You have to be very, very careful dealing with other companies. You're giving strange companies information. You don't know where the information is going. Is it in this country, another country? So you really have to be very careful with everything you're doing. If you're dealing with your regular CPA, your regular accountant, and he knows what he's doing, or you can just follow a few of these steps. You can call me and I'll help you out as well, 516-205-0722. So there's two different ways if you have IRS debt. The first is an installment agreement with the IRS, and that would be if you owed less than $50,000, usually $25,000 is probably better, but you can just get an agreement to make payments, and usually they'll spread it out over 72 months. So last year was a strange year. A lot of people whose returns I did, they owed money. And this year will be the same, because if you collected unemployment insurance and you didn't pay any taxes on those checks every week, you're going to end up owing taxes, because all that money that you got, unemployment, the PUA, the pandemic unemployment insurance, the regular unemployment insurance, which has lasted maybe already 10 months, people have gotten unemployment. A lot of people have no taxes taken out because they need the money to live. So at the end of the year, when I do their return, they're going to end up owing money. Also, people that get paid 1099, like salespeople or people that work for companies that don't want to put them fully on payroll because they're trying to avoid Medicare, they're trying to avoid unemployment insurance, trying to avoid workers' comp. So they pay you 1099, meaning they give you salary, they give you an amount of money, and you pay your own taxes. So at the end of the year, very often people come in with a 1099, they made $40,000. I said, how much did you pay in? They said, nothing. I said, why'd you pay nothing? Well, my employer didn't withhold anything. He didn't withhold anything because he's paying you like you're an independent contractor. And very, very often, these people owe money. And that's how it starts. When you don't pay taxes 1 year and then you're afraid to file because you owe money, people say, the hell with it, I'm not going to file this year. Now, all of a sudden, you owe 2 years, 3 years worth of taxes. And it could be $15,000, $20,000, and you don't have it, and you're worried about it. And now the state of New York, as one example, will hold your license back. They won't send you your license if you owe money to the state. So there are ways of getting around this, meaning not dealing with the companies that are going to tell you the pennies on the dollar. If you're 78 years old and you have no income and you owe 50 grand, they can't get the blood from a stone, right? So this is money they're never going to collect. So yeah, those people are paying pennies on the dollar because they have no money, they have no assets, they don't have a house, they don't have money in the bank. So those people are paying pennies on the dollar. But if you're a 40-year-old person and you owe $20,000 and you're making $70,000 a year, the IRS can just garnish your salary. They don't have to wait that long to collect the money. But if you're retired and you don't have any money, they have no choice. So the way to look into it is either you fill out an installment agreement with the IRS. So this way you have that 72-month period that you could pay it off. So if, let's say, you owe $20,000, the form will say divided by 72, which will come out to $200 or $300. But how much can you afford to really pay? So if you put down the $300 or $350, the minimum, you're going to be paying interest on the money, and it's going to be something that's going to be hard to pay off because they're always adding interest on top of whatever you owe. So it's better to put down what you really could afford. So you do your expenses, your income, and you see how much money do I have extra that I could send. And you try to make it into a 4-year payment plan instead of 6. So very often it'll say 72 months, $250. I'll tell the client, look, let's pay $400 a month. This way you get it over quicker, you pay less interest. And that's form number 766, so it's an installment agreement. So that's something that you could do on your own. You don't need to pay anyone. And if you don't want to do the form and mail it in, you could call the IRS, which means you're going to be on the phone for a while because they're working right now at 25% staff. You call them up, they're very, very nice at the IRS. People are so afraid of the IRS. I don't know why. If you call them up, tell them you're having a problem, things are slow, they'll give you the installment agreement right there and then on the phone. They'll ask you what you can afford, how much you're making, where you're working. They'll ask you questions. They're not looking to throw you in jail. They're looking to collect the money. It's not something that, oh my God, the IRS is calling. I gotta be fearful of that. Just find out what you owe, tell them what you can afford to pay, and every month they'll take the money directly out of your checking account, and that'll be it. And if you can make an agreement with them, very often they won't put a lien on you. It won't be on your credit report. You just make the payment. But if, let's say, you owe 50, 60, 150,000, you don't have the money, and you can't do a payment plan when you owe that much money because you have to fill out certain forms. And one of the forms is a form 656, which is an offer and compromise. You can get it online. It's a booklet on it. And that offer and compromise will be asking questions that make sense. Where do you work? How much money do you make? What are your expenses? Now, expenses are very important. If you put down you have a Bentley and you have a $4,500 a month payment, they're not going to let you write that whole 45. You're not going to let you put that in your expenses. Everything is capped. So you can't say I spend $3,500 a month on food. If you're a family of four, according to their records, the most you can put down is $600. So they want to see what are your monthly expenses, what is your income, and how much money do you have left over that you can afford to pay these taxes. Sometimes you encounter somebody that owes a lot of money. Their income is very low. They were laid off. So their income might be $4,000 a month, but their expenses are $5,500 a month. So they can't pay anything to the IRS. And the IRS will then label you as uncollectible. So that means the IRS knows you owe money, but they know right now you're not in a position to pay anything. So you would be uncollectible status, and 6 months down the road, they'll come back to you and say, okay, what's your status now? What's your income? Send me your pay stubs. Let me see how much you're making. And what will happen is you might be uncollectible forever, and then you wouldn't have to pay any of the money back. And if you can go a 10-year period without paying them back, there's a statute of limitations with the federal government. So if you can go 10 years, it could fall off your debt schedule. It wouldn't be on your credit report, and you would no longer owe them any money. So if you work with the IRS, sometimes it's a benefit because as soon as you file the papers, as soon as you do everything you're supposed to do, you're in this statute of limitation period. So very often I have people that owe $200,000-$300,000 between their business, their company owes money, payroll taxes. If we continue to send the IRS the documents they want, we do an offer and compromise, we fill out the right schedules. They're a pain. You got to send a lot of different documents, but you do it. That's, you got to make a copy of your bank statements. They want to know what your rent is. They want to know your lease. They want to see how much is your car payment. So they want to know what all your expenses are. But if they turns around that you really don't have the money to pay it, your business isn't doing as well, they keep putting you on this status of uncollectible. If you could stay on that status of uncollectible for a 10-year period after you file the return, it'll get wiped away and you won't have to pay anything. So it's not something to be afraid of the IRS. You don't have to pay thousands of dollars. Companies charge $7,500. If you have a business and you owe $150,000 and you want to deal with one of these companies, you got to be prepared to send $7,500, $8,000 to these people, and they're going to keep coming back every year. When the IRS wants a new financial statement, they're going to keep coming back and say, well, I got to send another financial statement, send another $400, another $600. If you do it yourself, fill out this form 656, offer and compromise. It'll walk you through it. If you happen to have a business, there's a separate business to fill out a financial statement for. They want to see what your monthly home expenses are. They want to see what your business expenses are. It's very self-explanatory. And you send it in, you'll get an IRS agent. He'll ask you questions. And if you could afford to give $200 a month, even though you owe $1 million in taxes, if all you could afford to pay is $100, $200 a month, that's what they'll accept. And then 6 months down the road, they'll come back to you and say, okay, what's your situation now? Let me see your corporate return. Let me see your personal return. And then they'll come up with a new figure. Maybe things are better. Now you can pay $300 a month. But very, very often, if you owe a lot of money, they will make a deal with you that you'll be very surprised. And if you never have any income again because you're disabled, you're older, you will end up paying nothing, not even pennies on the dollar, because you don't have any money to pay. If you don't have money to pay, they're not putting you in jail. Jail is for people that don't file their returns. So, or if they look at your return and they see fraud, if you list that you have 4 children when you only have 1, that's fraud. You're putting down. You can't say, "Oh, I made a mistake. I thought I had 4 children." So that's fraud. If you put down your charitable expenses were 6,000, but you only have receipts for 1,000, that's not fraud, because you give money every week to church. You give cash. You don't have a receipt. That's not considered fraud. So remember, the IRS is kind of like just a company looking over everything you have to see if you're doing things right or wrong. It's not like they're looking to put you in jail. They're looking for money. Putting you in jail doesn't bring any extra money to the IRS. So try to do your returns honestly, legitimately, do everything the right way. If you don't have the money to pay the taxes, you still have to file. It's more important to file than to pay. So if you don't have money to pay, still file. At least you're filing on time. The penalties for filing late is very high. You'll end up paying 25-30% more than what you owe if you don't file on time. If you don't file your corporate return on time, which is an S corporation, they'll charge you $200 every single month based on how many partners you have. So if you have 3 partners, you're going to pay $600 a month. So it makes no sense at all to file late. Better to file late. You don't have the money? Fine, don't pay the money. When the bill comes, call them up. Things are bad. They'll give you an installment agreement almost immediately, or you fill out that one form and you get the agreement and you pay whatever you could afford to pay. And if the number is extraordinary, don't say, "Oh my God, I can't file anymore." It's not like you're falling off their records. They know you're not filing. Not filing means you can go to jail. So I do have clients that went to jail because they didn't file for 5 years. So it's very important. When the return is due, file it. If you owe money, just make the installment agreement with them or an offer in compromise. I hope this helped people. You should not be afraid of the IRS. Give me a call if you have a problem, 516-205-0722. If you have your own accountant, just sit down with them and ask them about it. A lot of accountants do offer in compromises, and accountants are really there to help. They do. Most of the accountants I've met, they do the right thing. So if you need help or you have any questions, give them a call or give me a call. This is Ed the Finance Guy wishing you happy, healthy holidays. Stay safe, be smart, and keep tuning in. Have a good day.